Hello, everyone, and welcome to the RealClear Politics Takeaway for Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder, president of RealClear Politics.
I'm Carl Cannon, Washington Bureau Chief.
Good morning, Carl, from an icy Chicago. 20 below is the wind chill here today.
My goodness.
So I'm dressed in my best flannel.
Oh, you're tough. You'll probably be out playing hockey with your kids. I know you.
So, Carl, last evening, the president of the United States took a question from Peter Doocy from Fox News about inflation. And Doocy asked him if inflation was going to be a political liability in the midterms. And Biden said, not just caught on a hot mic, he kind of said it into the mic as if he was speaking to the people around him. More inflation, sure, you know. And he said, what a stupid son of a bitch, he called Doocy. Now, he later called Doocy, and from what Peter Doocy said, he cleared the air. He didn't apologize so much. He said, listen, it's not personal, pal. But he cleared the air. They had a cordial conversation. But the internet was just exploding with people retweeting journalists from a couple of years ago who were clutching their pearls and hitting the fainting couches when Donald Trump said something similar. I believe it was about Chuck Todd. But we're, not nearly as outraged and offended this time around, Carl, as when Biden did it.
Well, you can talk about a double standard, but I don't know if that's the issue as much as the technology has changed. There are no more local crimes. You log onto your internet and there'll be some heinous crime in, some city 1,000 miles from your house, but it would have been a local story. Presidents have never been a local story, but they've always. Look, there have been these exchanges in the past. I remember George W. Bush and Cheney had an exchange about a reporter named Adam Clymer. They named him by name in a similar hot mic situation. He was a New York Times reporter they didn't like. It goes back to Dan Rather, when at the height of when Richard Nixon was having trouble, and he asked one of his blowhardy questions, and Nixon said to him, "Are you running for something?" And rather than accept it, said, "No, are you?" And, that was a big thing at the time. Seems mild by today. But I was in the Rose Garden when Bill Clinton introduced Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and Britt Hume, who was then with ABC News, asked a question and said, how about his chaotic process. And Clinton got red in the face and angry. How can you ask a question like that after we've just been talking to? So it's normal for presidents to flash at reporters that irritate them. And I think you think about the questions they get asked. I think most Americans, you'd be a saint if it didn't get under your skin now and then. So I'm not thinking Biden's lost it today, Tom.
Well, so certainly, Trump was notorious for battling with the press and he called them fake news, and they were hostile to him day in and day out. They were hostile to him, and he gave back. And then the press was always, considered it an attack on the First Amendment. Biden, this is the third time in a week that he's done this, Carl, including our own Phil Wegman at the press conference last Wednesday, I believe it was, where
he did not call Phil's mother a name. Now, to be fair,
he did not.
He
but
raised his voice slightly, Tom.
Got a little testy, asked him if he knew how to read, or said, that's an interesting reading of my comments, and go back and read the tape. Shortly thereafter, he said to a female reporter from Fox, Jackie Heinrich, when she asked a question, he said, again, sort of muttered under his breath as she was leaving the room, what a stupid question. So this is, and look, Biden has done this before. He did it during the campaign. He had a couple of episodes, but this is the third time in 7 days, Carl. It's becoming a recurring theme for this president.
So you think he's losing it? I think he's behaving like most presidents have behaved, maybe a little more often.
I didn't say he's losing it. I'm just saying, he is. This is now becoming a recurring thing where he seems to be, getting in the face of reporters. And in the case of Peter Doocy, insulted him.
Well, sure, but the media needs to be able to take it if we dish it out. I think the questions, audiences will have, voters will have, independents will have, evaluating this. Is there a double standard? Is this guy being treated differently than his predecessor, which you alluded to at the beginning? And the other thing is is Joe Biden, skirting responsibility. I mean, our president who gives reporters crap, but if you look at the polls, I mean, we're down there, in our approval rating so low that I don't think that's going to cost him per se. But if it looks like he's scapegoating, if he's blaming the media for his problems, if he's blaming other people for inflation, for his failure to deal with these things, then it becomes a problem for the president. But, a single off-color remark, even two or three.
I generally agree with that. And look, Peter Doocy, I think, handled it very well and was on Fox later. They were laughing about it. Jesse Waters said something like, maybe the president's right. And Doocy laughed and said, yeah, nobody fact check him on that. Maybe I am, and the president called and while he didn't maybe formally apologize, I mean, he did the right thing. So it really is, I think, not that big of a deal and shouldn't be that big of a deal. I guess the contrast with, Jim Acosta and folks during the Trump era who were, again, feigning outrage and acting as if they've been put upon by Donald Trump. When, as you point out, this is something that has gone on and will continue to go on with presidents in the press.
Well, that's right, Tom. And, I was a president of the White House Correspondents Association, and I fielded calls from reporters. I won't embarrass them by naming them, who got the vapors when Ari Fleischer would call and yell at them about their stories. This give and take between the press and the president, it's actually healthy. And I thought this level is healthy. I thought what happened in the Trump administration was not good for the media, not good for the country. I said so at the time, but let's leave that aside. Right now, we're thinking about Joe Biden. And, this, again, a healthy exchange, given as well as you take, people are going to like that. If you start scapegoating the press, that starts to look like weakness. That's my view.
All right. We will leave it there for this morning. I'm Tom Bevan, co-founder and president of RealClear Politics.
I'm Carl Cannon, Washington Bureau Chief, and this has been the RealClear Politics Takeaway for Tuesday, January 25th, 2022.